Hello all. Today we're going to discuss one more important topic from Java multi-threading, and that is inter-thread communication. So we already done with what is multi-threading, then thread life cycle, and then finally we have discussed how to create thread, the ways to create threads. First, using extending thread class. Second, by implementing runnable interface. So today we're going to discuss the last topic from multi-threading, that is inter-thread communication, and we have an assignment on it. So inter-thread communication or cooperation is all about allowing synchronized threads to communicate with each other. So if you have one thread acquiring one resource and one more thread acquiring another resource, then we don't have any issue about synchronization. But if you have more than one thread and both of them are interested to execute their respective task using a common resource, a shared resource, that time we are getting that data inconsistency problem. We are not in a position to predict the output because we don't have control as such that which thread will take or which thread will acquire the resource to execute its task. So unpredictable output we will be getting, and every time output will be different. So for effective communication or to get the consistent data, predictable output, we must need to use keyword synchronize, and we will have to form a kind of handshaking between multiple threads which are in search of common resource to execute their task. Okay, so please do remember this. We need the kind of communication between two threads and a synchronized resource if and only if the resource is shared, a common resource. Okay, so cooperation or inter-thread communication is a kind of mechanism in which a thread is paused, running in its correct critical section, and another thread is allowed to enter in that same critical section to be executed. So here one thread will release the resource and another thread will acquire that resource. So this handshaking is need to happen properly. To have a kind of proper handshaking, we need to use some methods. Yesterday few of those methods we discussed, and in thread lifecycle we have discussed those methods. So today we will discuss those methods, their usage with the help of producer consumer module. Here I am having those methods with me. The first method is wait method, second one is notify, and third one is notify all. This notify all we required when we have more than two threads present. Okay, so right now for understanding purpose, I'll be having only two threads required a common resource. Here I have mentioned we need to implement this inter-thread communication using following methods which belongs to object class. In Java, we call object as a user defined entity of type class, but here we have a built-in class with name object where O is capital, resides in language package. So this is the main class in Java. All the remaining classes are inherited from this object class only. So all I mean to say, including user defined as well as built-in classes. So one of the method of creation of thread is by extending thread class. So there we discuss thread class. So that thread class is a built-in class, but it is again acts as a subclass of object class. So as I said, all classes, all built-in classes are subclasses of object class. So this object class contains wait, notify, and many more methods. Thread class is also having these methods, but when you are extending thread class using object class, these methods get overridden. Okay, so the idea of inter-thread communication will be more clear through this producer consumer model. So here I'm having two threads. First one is producer thread and second one is consumer thread. So job of producer thread is to produce the items. Here I have given the labels, item 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. And consumer thread will going to consume the items which has already been produced by producer thread. Okay. So once the producer start producing an atom, after it done with the production of that atom, producer thread will keep that atom in a structure which we call it as a buffer pool. Okay, so the basic data structure we have here is Q. So producer thread will keep on producing the atoms and keep on storing them onto this buffer pool one at a time. And what is expected from consumer thread? Consumer thread must consume the atoms which has been created or which has been produced by producer thread. Okay, so in order. So that has to be in order. So when producer thread produces first element or atom, consumer need to consume the same. Producer will produce second one, then consumer will consume the second one. So here, suppose for a time being, if producer thread keep on producing the atoms and producer thread don't know the status of consumer thread. Let us assume that consumer thread went in idle mode, block state. That time producer thread keep on producing the things and this buffer pool gets overflow. Okay, the counterpart, consumer thread will keep on consuming the thing and consumer thread don't know the producer thread status. Assume that producer thread went in idle mode, block state, and producer thread stopped producing the atoms, and this is completely unaware of for consumer thread. So consumer thread will keep on consuming the atoms from buffer pool, and one particular point of time buffer pool will throw underflow error, means it becomes empty. Further consumer can't consume the atoms. So there must be a proper communication between producer and consumer. Both are threads. Producer will produce the atom, consumer will consume the atom, and those atoms we need to place inside a buffer pool. So this buffer pool acts as a resource. So first time producer will access that resource just to keep the atom which has produced by producer thread. Same resource will be utilized by consumer thread to consume the atom which has been kept by producer thread. So here, as I said, to avoid that underflow or overflow error, there has to be a kind of communication between producer and consumer. So suppose producer thread is running, that means producer is producing first element. That time consumer thread needs to be in block state. Okay, so how consumer thread will goes in block state? By calling wait method. Now producer thread is having access to this resource. Once producer thread done with atom creation, first atom creation, then it's job of producer thread to go in block state and wait consumer thread to consume that atom. So once producer thread went in block state, this resource is free for consumer thread. So by notify, consumer thread will acquire that resource. Once consumer thread consume that particular element, next consumer need to went in block state by calling wait. Once consumer consume that element and went in block state, we will have to acknowledge producer thread. Through notify, producer will take a charge for performing the task by utilizing that resource. In this way, this proper handshaking will take place with respect to this resource. So here resource must be synchronized and a kind of communication will take place by using wait and notify. We have one more method, notify all. That time, if you have more than one consumers or more than one producers, that time through notify you can manage that communication. But as far as syllabus is concerned, we have only inter-thread communication, means communication between two threads. So I'll show you the program directly. So here in this program, four different classes are defined. The very first class is food item class. So you can map this food item class to the previous slide. There I have shown a buffer pool. So you can treat this food item class, which will going to hold some data fields and methods which are accessed, which we need to access. We, in the sense, producer thread will access, consumer thread will access. I mean, whenever you want to produce something, you will take a producer thread and you will ask producer thread to produce the data, and to keep that data, to keep that atom into a resource, producer thread need to access some method of that resource, then and then only it is possible. So here if you notice, I'm having two methods in class food item. First one is put and second method is get method. So put method will going to put the food item which has been produced by producer thread onto that buffer pool. This get method is just to use to get or to collect the food item which is available on that buffer pool. So consumer thread will going to fetch this get method. Okay. So what exactly the logic of put method and get method and these two data fields, namely food item number and one order of type boolean, by default value is true. What exactly this, you will come to know that once we start with the rest of the classes. So I'm having only a class food item right now on this slide. Next slide I'm having two remaining. As I said, we have four classes. The fourth one is simply used for main method definition. So first three are important. The first one is food item class having get and put method. So we will going to use put method, producer thread, to put something on buffer pool, and consumer thread will going to use get method to consume something which is available on buffer pool. So we need two more classes, namely producer and consumer class. And here I'm going to create the threads. Hence I'm using extend thread class approach instead of runnable interface. I'm using extending thread class approach here. Okay. So in class producer, I'm having one constructor producer and one method run. Okay. So when you create producer class thread and when you start it, it will going to call run method. Similarly, in consumer class, I'm having a constructor consumer and a method run. Okay. Apart from this, we have one variable O of type food item present in producer as well as in consumer class. What is food item? In the previous slide only we discussed it's a class name. So I'm creating one object of that food item class and I'm making that as a data field of class producer as well as class consumer. Okay. The last class, just a name I have given test. So my program name will be test.java. Main is there in that class test. So I'm declaring object of food item by allocating some space. In the previous case, no space gets engaged. Okay. The actual space gets engaged here. Physically, these three are different, although their names are same. Every time I'm using O as a name, but this will be the local variable, or you can say data field of class producer. So when you declare object of producer, separate space for O gets engaged in it. Similarly, when you declare object of class consumer, separate space gets engaged for this object O of food item in it. It's like nesting of class or nesting of object. And one more O of type food item declared locally in main under class test. So separate space gets engaged for this food item. This O will be the local variable. Now I'm passing that O as a argument for constructor producer as well as for constructor consumer, because I want to call get and put method. I want to call put method using producer class and I want to call get method using consumer class. So to call those methods, I must require object, because there is no relation between food item class and producer and consumer class. So how you can access food item method inside producer, you need object of food item. So that's why I have declared that object locally as a data field in both. Now to initialize those objects, I mean those data fields one at a time, what I'm doing, I'm declaring one thread. How I'm declaring? Thread T1 equal to, what is thread? It's a super class of producer. I'm declaring one object reference, and that object reference of super class is pointing to actual object of subclass. Same thing is happening here. Object reference of super class is accessing or pointing to or referring to the actual object of subclass. And I'm sending O as an argument for those two constructors. So this is what dynamic method dispatch. Through object of super class, you can access subclass actual object, or in other way in C++ we can say through object reference of base class you can access actual object of derived class. Now I'm calling start method. So this is for producer thread, second one is for consumer thread. So I'm calling producer thread. So when I call start method using T1, where T1 is indirectly referring to producer thread only and T2 indirectly referring to consumer thread. So that start will call run method as soon as resource is available. Now you supposed to write which food number you are creating. So initially it has to be 0. That's why one local variable I have declared integer food item number with value 0. I want to produce 5 elements or 5 food items, and same 5 I want to consume. So if you notice, read method of producer class and read method of consumer class, very similar method I have. Only the thing is that in run method of producer class and run method of consumer class. So in run method of producer class, I'm calling put method of which class? Food item class, using its object O. And in run method of consumer class, I'm calling get method using object O. Okay, but what is O? You must have to set that O. Okay, so to set this O, I have declared and initialize this O with new food item, and same value of O I'm passing. So to whom it is pointing to? New food ref item. Same O gets initialized. This data field O gets initialized using producer constructor. This dot, because data field and local variable with same name. So to isolate, we need this. So this O indicates data field of producer class, and this one indicates a local variable. So to whom this O is pointing? The actual food item object. Same gets pointed by this O. Similarly, what is happening here? Same space, this O also pointing to this. These are all reference variables. Okay, so you can have more than one reference to one actual space or actual object. So this is what happening actually here. So here I'm having this dot O equal to O, because I just want to access put and get method of put class. That's why I need a valid object of that with me inside a class producer as well as in consumer. So when I'm calling run method for first time, food item number is 0. So when I equal to 0, I'm calling this food for first time by incrementing food item number. Now I'm incrementing it. That means I have done with creation of food item. So what will happen? It will take me to put method. See, one data field I'm having with me, order. So we will have to notify producer as well as consumer thread with a Boolean operator. So if the order is there, so it's a positive thing. So we can say that, yeah, order is there, so it must be true. If it is true, that means what? Order is there. So if order is there, which thread you want to be in active phase, producer or consumer? There is an order for you. So consumer wants something. So it's job of producer thread to produce that thing for that consumer. So if order is true, we want producer thread to access the resource. If order is false, no order, so we don't want to produce anything because no order. So when order is false, we want producer thread to be in idle state. But when no order is there, that means what? Consumer is consuming. Okay, so once the consumer done with consumption, so there is a requirement of food item, so we will have to make that order true again, so that Once it come back to true, it will acknowledge the producer, and producer will going to produce the next food item for consumer. So a kind of handshaking will take place. So wait and notify we required here. So food item number is one local variable just to maintain the count, how many food item producer has produced and how many are of them are consumed by consumer thread. And order is just for notify producer as well as consumer. So initially a default value I'm taking, that is true. So I'm having a put method. I'm calling put method using run method of class producer. There I have passed food item number with increment operation. So it becomes 1 here. So if order is false, producer has to be in idle state. But right now order is true. Okay. So order is true. That means this if block get bypassed. So what this if is having, if suppose order is false, we want that producer in idle state. That means we need to call wait method. But here when you call wait method, it will throw a exception. The name of or the type of exception is interrupted exception. That's why I have used this exception handling. Nothing more than that, like try and catch. So wait, I'm calling inside try and then catch block with nothing in it because I don't want to print anything. So if my order is false, means no order, I want my producer thread to be in wait state. So even if no order is there and still producer thread is calling run method, that run will call indirectly put method. And inside put method, because order is false, producer go back in wait state. Okay, but right now there is an order because order is true. So it will bypass this if part. So I just want to increment that food item that I have already done here. So this food item which is locally declared in method run of class producer, I'll have to update the data field of food item number with that value. So that's why this dot food item number. So this becomes 1. Okay, and then you can print the same put food item plus food item number means value is equal to 1 right now. So put food item 1. Okay, but once you're done with this, please don't forget to update order. Initially it was true, now you supposed to make it false. The moment you make it false, call notify. So this notify is for consumer thread that one atom is available for you. Okay, now it's time to consume that atom. So we will allow consumer to access that resource. Through notify, we have released that resource. I mean to say producer has released that resource. Now it's job of consumer thread. So what consumer thread will do? Consumer thread will call get method. Get method, I'm having is order true? If order is true, consumer thread need to be in block state. Okay, but right now order is false. This we have done in the last call of put. We made order false. So order is true. We will have to keep that consumer thread in wait state. So same logic. So when we want producer thread in wait mode, when order is false. When we want consumer thread in block state or in wait state, when order is true. So here you need to call wait. Again, as I said, it throws exception of type interrupted exception. So you need to write that wait call inside try and have a catch block for it to avoid that logical error. Once you're done with this, you can print got food item. What is the value? 1. Correct? Here, don't forget to update that order to true because you're done with consumer thread task. So it's time to produce the next element. So how it is possible to create next element food item? We want that producer to be in active phase, and to bring that producer thread in active phase, we want to reinitialize order to true and then notify. So very similar logic I have written here. Okay, so here order is false, here order is true, here you calling notify, here also you need to call a notify. Here call wait when order is false, call wait when order is true. Okay, so this is about inter-thread communication. I'm having a program. I'll show you the program. This is the program for Inter-thread communication, the same program just now we have discussed. Food atom class, next one is producer class, then consumer class, and finally producer consumer class. So please make sure that you have appropriate methods present in food item class. So as I said, that particular resource, if it is shared by more than one thread, you must require to make that resource a synchronized resource. So if you notice the method declaration, in the method declaration, I mean in the heading of function definition or method definition, I have used this word synchronize. So having wait and notify along with synchronized method is must. So here I'll show you the output of this code. I'm running this. See, put food item 1, that means producer thread is active. Now it goes in wait state by making order false. The moment order becomes false, it's time to consume that food item. So got food item. This is the task done by consumer thread. Once consumer thread consume that particular value, consumer went in block state by making order true. Once order becomes true, we will have to bring producer thread in active phase or in running state. So put food item 2, then got food item 2, put food item 3, got food item 3, like that till 5, because I have used that for loop for 5 times. So even if you run this code continuously, you'll be getting the same output. So this is happening because we have a synchronized resource, as well as we are using wait and notify method from class object. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.